It is said that it was the greatest defeat of the Roman legions in the entire history of the Roman Empire. However, it did not come at its beginnings or during its decline, but on the contrary. In its golden era under the reign of the first emperor Augustus in the year 9 AD, the entire Roman army was then ambushed in the middle of the harsh Germanic forests. Almost no one escaped. 20,000 Roman soldiers were either killed, taken into slavery, or sacrificed to the gods. This massacre essentially ended the Romans' efforts to dominate Germania, that is, the present-day territory of Germany, which had far-reaching consequences for the future of Europe. The turn of the century found the Roman Empire in a phase of tremendous expansion. The turbulent era of Julius Caesar had recently ended, and all the occasional wars had subsided, from which the Caesar's adopted son Octave, later called Augustus, emerged as the winner. He declared himself the first emperor, and thanks to his 40-year rule, stabilized the empire and began further territorial expansion. He gradually annexed territories in the east such as Egypt, Palestine, and the Balkans. However, we are more interested in the situation in the north, where the border of the Roman Empire stopped at the Rhine River. To the east of it lies the land of the Germans, or rather Germanic tribes, of which there were about 50. This territory, wild and barbaric for the Romans, now became their next goal. The main character of our story will be a man named Publius Quinctilius Varus. He is one of the most powerful Romans. He is married to the great niece of Emperor Augustus himself, so he actually belongs to the imperial family. He has already had a successful service in Egypt and Syria, and in Palestine, he infamously entered the chronicles when, around the time of the birth of Jesus Christ, he punished a Jewish revolt by crucifying 2,000 people. In the year 7 AD, he receives another task, to pacify a new province in Germania, the territory east of the Rhine that the Romans had explored in previous years through several bloody campaigns. And so Varus sets off. But at that moment, a new main character appears in the story, Arminius, later called Hermann in German, who serves as the commander of the support troops in Varus's legions. Arminius is of Germanic origin, the son of the leader of the Germanic tribe Cherusci, who was taken to Rome as a hostage with his brother as a small child. The Romans did this quite often. Capturing the children of rebellious chieftains served as a means of forcing obedience. Arminius received an education, military training, and Roman citizenship in Rome, and at first glance assimilated completely. He rose in the military ranks until he reached Publius Varus's side as the commander of the support troops in Germania. Varus liked him, took advantage of his knowledge of the environment and language, and trusted him completely. And that was a fatal mistake. Arminius has not forgotten the suffering that the Romans brought to his country. He secretly begins to negotiate with the chiefs of the individual tribes. He breaks their initial distrust and manages to unite some of them in an uprising. It is only a question of when and how to carry it out. The opportune moment came in 9 AD when most of the Roman army was transferred to suppress a rebellion in the Balkans. Only 3 legions remained in Vera, including affiliated units and family members. This amounted to approximately 20,000 people. Arminius knew that they could not match the Romans in open battle. Therefore, he devised a way to attack them in the inaccessible terrain of the central German forests. There he wanted to lure them into an ambush. At the end of the summer, he tells Varus that there is a rebellion in the northern region of Germania and that it must be crushed immediately. He suggests the shortest route through the vast Teutoburg Forest, actually more like a forest with swamps near the present-day city of Osnabrück. Varus is trusting and sets off on his journey. He does not even send out reconnaissance units beforehand, which turns out to be a key mistake. The army is spread out in long processions along forest roads up to 20 kilometers long, and to top it all off, heavy rains begin. Varus has no idea that he is walking straight into an encirclement. Around 20,000 members of 5 Germanic tribes are hidden deep in the forest along the way. Arminius leaves the besieged Roman army at the right time and at his signal, everything begins. The narrow snake of legions is torn into smaller pieces. The units have no time or space to form into defensive positions. Moreover, because of the rain, the bowstrings are not tensioned, and the shields are so soaked with water that they are practically unmanageable. If at all some Roman unit manages to find a meeting and form into a defensive system in which they would have an advantage. So the Germans just wait until they enter the forest again. The vanguard is finally lured into a 100-meter wide ravine between a large swamp and a steep cliff from which there is no escape in any direction. It is literally a massacre. The Germans attack with spears and then with a frontal attack. They spare no one. When Varus sees the complete hopelessness of the situation, he commits suicide in typical Roman fashion by leaning on his sword. It is a total defeat. All 3 legions are completely destroyed. There is nothing left of the Roman army in Germania. When the news reaches Rome, Emperor Augustus is said to be banging his head on the wall and shouting, "Varus, Varus, give me back my legions." 5 years later, an expedition led by the general Germanicus arrives at the battle site, and it confirms that almost all the soldiers died there, and those who were not killed in battle committed suicide or were sacrificed to the Germanic gods on altars. Arminius, now the king of several united Germanic tribes, presented the severed head of Publius Varus to the king of Marcomanus, but he wanted to maintain good relations with the Romans, so he sent it to Rome to be cremated. The Germans were not united even now, but they never became part of the Roman Empire. The Romans abandoned this direction of expansion for good, and so the Rhine River to this day forms an imaginary border between 2 different worlds. Between the world of the former Roman Empire, with its architecture, way of life and customs, a world where Romance languages are still spoken today, and the world of the former Germanic peoples, today German-speaking states. Nothing changed, even the paradoxical fact that 450 years after this battle, it was the Germans, their tribe called the Vandals, who conquered Rome and ended the 1,000-year history of the largest European empire of antiquity.